So I recently got fourth place at my locals tournament this weekend, or this past weekend actually, with my dragapult charizard built deck. And I gotta say, been practicing online and in person. It really paid off. My hard work paid off. So let's go ahead and talk about my fourth place placement of dragapult EX. Let's go and talk about it. So round one, I was playing against a rogue deck, the Azumarill deck. So my opponent, we all thought we were playing post rotation, and I guess this was the last time we are playing free, so everyone's scrambling to get decks. But luckily some people had backup decks, and so my opponent, she had an Azumarill. I think that's the only thing she was playing, at Azumarill Azumarill deck. And so what happened was she got started. She went second. I was gonna go first. So usually when I go first, I don't play my Boodoos out. So I set down a Dreepy, I got a buddy, I was able to set down more Dreepies and a Charmander, and I was able to go ahead and attach energy to it. And then, I think I had a Dusclops in my hand. So I was able to set up my board on the first round. She got her Marrows out. She was gonna go ahead and set everything up with her Marrows, and I think she had, I forgot what she had. Oh, she had Cornerstone Ogerpon. So if you don't know what that is, Cornerstone Ogerpon has this ability where it cannot be attacked if Pokemon have abilities. So in my mind, Charizard had to be the one that it wasn't gonna attack. So I was gonna set up with my Dragapult and my Dusclops and Dusknoirs. So they were setting up, she was attaching energy to it, and it hasn't having Azumarills to it. I don't know why I keep saying that, but she kept adding to that. And so what happened was, when she started attacking, attacking my Pokemon, I kept knocking them out and using Dragapult, for the damage counters and everything. Back and forth, since it's one prize, it was a little bit hard to take. Luckily, my Dusclops, my Dusknoirs came into play, knocking out her additional Pokemon. And she, on the last two prizes, she did use a Precious Trolley. And what got me the win is she got an out with a 50 HP. So what happened was, I was able to attack my Dragapult, knock out her Azumarill, and knock out a Natu to get the last two prizes. So round one, I was 0-1. Round two, I was going up against, what was I going up against? I was going up against some sort of Future Box. And this next round, was it Future Box? I don't know. It was Iron Thorns and Latias. It was a lot of Miraidon and Pikachu. So what happened was, she got a bad hand, and she started with Latias in the active, and I was able to get Charmander and Dreepies out. And so I was able to go first again, because everyone knows I was playing Dragapult, so I used Bidoof. So, this whole locals tournament, I got to use Bidoof like maybe once or twice. Other than that, Bidoof was not a factor this rounds. But I was able to set up my board with the Dreepies, Charmanders, and Dusclops again. And so what happened was, I was able to have my Charmander to active, and she only had a Latios and a Fez. And so she was trying to set up, trying to grow, and she was trying to do Professor's Research, still not getting anything. While I was setting up, I was able to get a Charizard out in my active, and I was able to get the first two prize cards. What happened was, she thought that just because Charizard did 180, Latios was not going to be locked out. But since it's weak to darkness, it was able to do double the damage. So I was able to knock her out. She put the Fez up, and she was able to get Iron Hands down, and she was able to get Pikachu down. And Mew, sorry for that. So what happened was, I was able to go ahead and boss up the Mew, knock that out for the last 4 prize cards, and then she was able to attack with Pikachu. But in the end, I was able to boss up another card, was with the, I think it was a Fez. It was another attack. No, okay, so what happened was, I was able to get a Dusknoir out, use it on one of her Pokemon, boss up one for 1 prizers, and then knock her out to take my last 2 cards. So it was a really 15-minute game. She couldn't draw any cards what she wanted, and at the end I was able to go 2-0, and so I was on to my next round. I forgot to set up my light, but I don't know if that looks good or not. So let's go ahead and go with this third round. I went up against Goldengo, and y'all know I fucking hate Goldengo EX. It's so hard to fucking beat that deck just because of the attack. It was a very slow-paced game because we both had bad draws and bad hands, and when he got on with me, I was able to set up my board really nice. You know, I had Badoo, I had Dreepy, I had Charmander, I had Dusclops, or Dusknoir, or you know, Duskull. I had one of those. I was able to set up my board, but he did Iona me, and it slowed me down by a lot. Dragloak was not able to give me the cards that I needed, so the slow start, back and forth, slow start, one prize, two prizes that he was taking. You know, so I still had all 6 prizes. He was down to his last prize cards, and I had about 3 left on the board, so I was trying to take it out, but at the end, the way he set up, if he was set up first, I knew he was going to take the round, so that I did the best that I could with that. He was knocking out my dragapult, he was knocking out my charizard. You know, there's nothing else I could do. He really won. Like I said, it was nothing I could have done. Once he set up, that I knew it was game over from the start. So that end of the night, or end of the round, I was already 2-1, and I was on to my 4th round. My 4th round, I went up against Arch Alodon. It was a straight Arch Alodon. I was playing against a guy who went to the San Antonio Regionals. He played in it using that Arch Alodon deck. We didn't really talk about where he plays and how we went to day 2, but I know he went to San Antonio Regionals. So I was have to step up my game for this. I was able to set up my board really good. Like I said, no Badoo. You know, it is what it is. It was prized. So I was able to go ahead and set up with my Dreepy, Charmanders, and Duskulls. Duskull. I keep doing that. I don't know why I keep doing that. But I was able to set up with that, and I was able to go ahead and set up my board where we had Duraludon. And I was trying to do my best to set up and knock out, but you know, he Ioted me, so I'd start all over again. I was able to get a Jacq, get my Draglokes, and you know, Recon Drive, get a Charizard out and start attacking. But he was able to get his Arch Alodon out, and he did play a Dialga, but he did discard it. I think he used an Ultra Ball to get an Arch Alodon. He discarded Alga and a Steel Energy, but I think his Alga V was prized, so the V-Star was not able to, you know, come and play. So what happened was, you know, we're going back and forth, setting up our plays. I was able to retreat the Charizard because it was already had 220, and use my dragapult to start putting damage on everything. I was able to put 200 on his Arch Alodon, and I was able to put 10 on his Fez and 50 on the Arch Alodon. And I was able to, you know, counter catcher his Fez, knock it out, put 50 more on the Arch Alodon, and 10 on, you know, I was just manipulating where the damage counters went. So I was able to go ahead and get the prize cards that I need. He was able to knock out one of my Draglokes or Dragapults EXs. Then at that time, I knew I had to do what I had to do. I Professor 2 over my Fez, so it wouldn't be an easy knockout. So all I had was just my Dusclops, my Dusknoir, and then my Dragapult. So I was down to 1 prize card left, and all I did was Dusknoir, and I was able to knock out his Radiant Greninja to take the last prize card. So at that point in time, I was 3-1 and on to our final round. 5th and final round, I was going up against one of my buddies. His name is Juan, and it was a newcomer in the scene, but he was really good. I think this is like his 3rd month playing, and he was already winning tournaments, 2nd, 3rd place in all these local tournaments, these league cups. He was really good. And so when I met him, we were just talking and everything. But over the next 3 months, we started, you know, becoming friends. And you know, if he needed some certain cards, he was like, "I'll pay." He was like, "Nah, don't worry about it. Don't, you know, you need the card, you need the card. Don't ever ask me for, you know, if you need to pay for it or anything like that. We are cool. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do, right?" So I knew this was gonna be a fun round because he was playing Charizard, and I already knew what his game plan was because I play Charizard too. If you don't know, I have a regular Dragapult Charizard deck, and I have a separate Charizard deck that I'm still trying to build for competitive. And I know it's fallen off, but you know, I'm still trying to build that up. So I knew his moves before he can play them, and so I took that to my advantage. I was only able to start it with a Dreepy and a Fez. He was able to start with a Pidgey, and so I was trying not to get a first round donk, but I was thinking, like, there's no way I can get a first round. He can get a first round donk on me. He told me to go first because, you know, he knows my deck too, and I know his deck. So it was just battle of the wits, like what's gonna happen, what is it gonna be, right? I was able to attack the Psychic Energy and just pass. He was able to get a Charmander down, attach to a Charmander, and pass back to me. I was able to evolve, knock out his Pidgey, and we kept going back and forth, back and forth. He was able to get a Gouging Fire out because he does it for the melodic wall decks. If you see right here, he uses that to go ahead and take out even the Badoos as well. And so I was able to get a Dusclops off, Dust Skulls, keep doing that, with a Dusclops and a Snore, you know, I was able to have him in my hand. But he ionoed me, but I was lucky enough to get these cards out, you know, again. So what happened was I Dusclops his Charmander. I was able to attack his Charmander with, you know, putting damage count on the Governor Fighter, and I was able to get, you know, 3 prize cards right off the bat. So what happened was he got down another Charmander, and he had a Gouging Fire on there. And what happened was he did another Iono, and it got me again. I was only able to get 3 cards out, but luckily I had a Fez. So I put a Fez down, he did attach, and I did knock out his Gouging Fire. He promoted the Charmander, and he was able to knock out my Dragapult EX just because he evolved it. And so at that point, I was like, what am I going to do? Because all I had was a Charmeleon on the bench and a Dragapult with a Fire Energy. So it's either I got to find a Dragapult, or I got to find some way to get this. So what he did was he ionoed me, got me down to 1 prize card. That's all I had left was 1 prize card. So he got me down to 1 card. So I had to sequence this the way it was going to sequence. So picture this, right? He has a Charizard, full health. You know, he's knocking out anything with a maximum belt. You know, he has a Charmander on the bench. So I had to figure out what I needed to do. I played an Artisan, nothing, you know, just see what I had left in my deck. I was able to put a Jamming Tower to get rid of the maximum belt. I was able to retreat my Draco that was in the active, put my Charmeleon with my 2 Fire Energy on there. I Fezzed, got the Unfair Stamp, used the Unfair Stamp, and I was just praying to find something, right? So what happened was, once I used the Unfair Stamp, I shuffled, I got my cards, I got a Charizard EX with a boss. I was able to boss up his Charmander. I was able to knock it out and get my last prize card, and it was the end of the round. It was a good match back and forth. We were sweating bullets, but you know, he got me 1 time, I got him 1 time, so we're both 1-1. And you know, Juan, if somehow you're seeing this, man, you know, I want these rematches, man. I want these rematches. But it was a good match, good round. I got 4th place, as you can see right here. I was excited because I've been practicing on this deck for a long time, and it finally paid off. And in a separate video, and it's probably a YouTube short, but I'm gonna show you my deck list. That sounded dirty, but I'm gonna show you my deck build of this. And I'm gonna go over the cards that I use, and we're just gonna go and see what I could have done different. First hand draw, second hand turn, you know, I'm gonna go over these decks with you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you can to make this content go up. And I'll see you on the next one. Latest.